I'd like to welcome the Executive Director, Environmental African Network for Environment and Economic Justice, ANEJ, Reverend David Ogolo, who is joining us virtually. Reverend Ogolo, many thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sunday.
Okay, we also have joining us from UK, Chief Matthew Akwemohan, who is Labour Party chieftain and also a public affairs commentator. Chief Matthew, thank you for joining us on the program TMI.
Thank you very much for having me. For some strange reason, I don't know what happened to the light. It just went dark. Okay. So if you can see me, I do appreciate it.
Yeah, we can see you. We can see you, and we'll make do with that. And we also have Fares Okberi joining us online as well. Fares, good morning and welcome on board the show. Yes.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay. Okay. Let's also get the conversations on. We'll be having Honorable Pastor Lile join us much later, and Chief Onosake joining us much later in the course of this conversation. But let me get started with you. Reverend Ogolo, the hashtag End Bad Governance protest proposed for 1st of August is gaining a lot of traction. What do you make of the level of response so far on the part of government and major stakeholders who are more or less prevailing on the youths not to embark on this protest because they fear it could be hijacked? Let me get your take on this.
Mr. Sonny, thank you. I also want to thank ITV for the opportunity to also join other panelists to discuss this issue. First, I want to say very clearly, I endorse the protest, and I think the protest is very important. And I think the current government, under the leadership of President Tinubu, rightly will agree that Tinubu became what it is through protest. And what you have seen in the country today, there are those who are pro-establishment, those who are currently benefiting from the government, and they are structured in a way that you have the traditional rulers, you have religious leaders, and you even have the youths who are also beneficiary from the present government. And because of these, you don't expect them to support anything that would disrupt the system. And everywhere around the world, pro-establishment people will always want to come with ideas that will not bring any change. Protest is needed to strengthen governance. Protest is required to help strengthen democracy. And in absence of protest, people will not have the opportunity to ventilate their anger or at least put different perspective or approach on how things should be done to improve governance. And so my take on all the call that is saying that no protest is just the fact that they are pro-establishment. If you look those who are among the traditional ruler, they're beneficiary of the system. And if you look at the economy is structured, it benefits people who naturally are not producing anything to support the economy. And then if you look at the religious leaders who are also coming up with such, using the religious Bible to persuade people not to go on protest, it's also the same thing as well. But the really truth situation is that we must also learn from what has happened. If you look other jurisdictions where protests has happened, what are the benefits? We must also not fail to also look into those issues. And so my take is that the August 1st protest should go ahead, but we must learn from past experience, like the EndSARS. Protest is not about destruction. Protest is not about burning down government property. No, it's unacceptable. I don't subscribe to violence. You can actually ventilate your anger without not necessarily destroying anything. I'm not an anarchist. I don't believe in destruction. Even in the 90s, where we were undergoing this global anti-globalization campaign, I also make it very clear. I remember when we were on the street in Genoa during the G8 summit in Italy. One of the things I said very clearly when the protest was going on the street was that, look, we must, even though we are coming out with our voice around the world, to resist a system that is not helping the world, we must not subscribe to violence. So in the August 1st protest in Nigeria, We must all come out massively to support the protest. We must make sure that we support the youth to ventilate their anger. And we must make sure we send a strong message to President Tinubu's government to recognize the fact that it is our legitimate right to express our dissatisfaction with the way the economy is managed. The unemployment level is disturbing. The way the government is managing the whole conversations around how NNPC is managing the oil importation is not good. And if you look at the conversation between Dangote and the government, it is not good. If you look at the massive corruptions across the country, particularly the Glencoe corruption case in Nigeria, where major main key officials in NNPC were all singled out as taking bribe from Glencoe, is also not very good. So in the face of all this challenge, people must be mobilized to express their dissatisfaction. It helps the government. If people cannot express their dissatisfaction, how do you expect the democracy to function? So this is the challenge that I think
let me pause you there. I'll come back to you in a moment. Let me quickly link up with Fares Okbari. Fares, the concerns by major stakeholders is that this could be hijacked, like we've seen in the past. And if that happens, it means that we may not be able to control the aftermath of the protest. Let's get started with you on that.
Well, the reality today is that the issues that Nigerians are struggling with, Nigerians have reached almost a tipping point where they are no longer interested in what the government of the day is going to say. You remember that this same government, when they came into power, promised that when they removed subsidy, that they were going to reinvest the earnings from subsidy to kind of soften the pains that Nigerians were going through. But it's over a year now, things have gotten worse than they used to be. Nigerians are suffering, they are miserably suffering, and you can see that the food prices have gone up, fuel prices have gone up, virtually everything have gone up. The inflation have gone out of control. Nigerians are now resorting to cooking stew with cucumber and all of that, that because food prices are now only for the super rich, so that's what Nigerians are facing. So at that point, Nigerians are no longer interested in if whoever is going to hijack or whatever hijack anything. They are just desperately itching to go out and vent their displeasure at the failure of the government, because you push somebody, it gets to a point the person has to push back. That's where Nigerians are right now. So all the talk of being hijacked will not solve the problem. The president needs to come out and address some of the concerns of Nigerians. There is hunger in the land. There is serious hunger in the land. Nigerians are hungry, and that is what is driving this anger in the streets today against the government, against the APC particularly, because Nigerians are hungry and they've seen their lives change in the last 9 years. They've seen it. Take for example, before the APC government came into power, a bag of rice was selling for 8,500 naira. Today, a bag of rice is almost 100,000 naira in some places. That's how things have changed. Let's not even talk about the cost of a bag of beans. And this protest is being fueled by hunger. So if you can't talk about this protest without talking about the rising cost of food, and why has food prices gone up, is because of the failure of the APC government to address the concerns of Nigeria, to invest in agriculture, to solve the problems of Nigerians. Look at when Jonathan was in government, they were building rice mills everywhere. So many companies were coming into Nigeria to come and invest in rice mills. Today the reverse is the case. People are now running away from Nigeria. Companies are running away from Nigeria. Their farms are running away. Insecurity has taken over the country. People are no longer free to go to their farms anymore. It's because that the APC has done nothing but just loot and pillage the resources of the country. Imagine a country now that there's no food, and the president has the temerity to be talking about buying a new private jet for 150 billion naira, and they're buying a yacht for 6 billion, renovating the office of the vice president for 21 billion naira, where where many Nigerians cannot even afford a cup of rice. You know, many Nigerians cannot even afford a cup of beans right now. So these are the issues driving the anger on the streets. There's serious anger on the streets, Sonny.
Okay.
Serious anger on the street. When you talk to people, you feel it.
All right, let me pause you there. I'd like to get Chief Matthew Akomoha, who's joining us from the UK, to ventilate his views on this looming crisis here in Nigeria. In other climes, we see protests. We also see how the authorities help to ensure that it doesn't go out of hand. But let's look at the response level of government. Several meetings have taken place. What we've heard or we've even seen is that traditional rulers, religious leaders, and so critical stakeholders are prevailing on the youths not to protest. On the flip side, there are allegations of some humongous amounts of money being distributed to these people to be able to help government to prevail on those who are in their domain not to protest. Isn't that being reactive, as it were? Chief, give us your perspective.
Hello, thank you very much for this. One of the things we first of all need to come to reality or acceptance is very simple. It is clear at this point that Nigerian political principalities, I call them political principalities because they are the problem of Nigeria. They know how to win election, but they don't have critical mind on how to govern because their very goal is not for the greater good of a communal society. Their very goal is for personal aggrandization or self-interest. So they have no personal ambition how to make the society better. That is number one. We need to come to reality. So come to reality with. Then again, we also have to be critical about this president. He said it's his lifetime goal to be president, not a lifetime goal to improve the society or make Nigeria better. So you see the dynamic there. So his approach from year one, if you look at it critically, is giving House of Reps, senators, states money directly to go and buy citizens in their district. All the palliative they shared is to keep people who are in their coffin, to share for their own coffin people, to suppress people, not actually coming out with critical policy goal that will actually transform the society, that will actually elevate the society. I personally felt like this government have surrounded themselves, insulated themselves with the same narrow mind thinking people. Hence, they don't see this issue as a crisis. Since APC came into power, they cannot keep blaming the previous government or PDP. They've got 8 years. Their 8 years of worry produced the worst kind of human being and the worst kind of policy governing ever in the history of all Africa. And he made everything worse. There's no area that was improved. And Tinubu is following that trend with actually being critically minded on their approach. I'm personally, as a traditional chief, and it would behoove me to say anything as regards to what the traditional rulers and kings are now trying to portray. Because what were they when Tinubu and his campaign people did that in 2015? And Jonathan won the country, won the nation. That this set of people, more or less, short of calling them criminals, hijackers, we have a political coup that happened in 2015. And it's still going on. Where were they then? Where were they when bag of rice was less than 5,000 naira to almost 90,000 naira? Where were they when Gary was less than 100 naira to now almost a gold? So if the traditional ruler are saying people not to protest, the question is why? Are they in the side of the people they're supposed to rule over, or are they now politicians inside of a particular party, APC? Those other stakeholders who are now coming out. I see Tinubu daughter the other day going around market telling people to tell their children not to go and protest. What program has she actually delivered on the welfare of market women? Sustainability, apart from taxing them to hell. So you can see that these so-called politicians, this principality politicians, are traditional rulers separate themselves from, because this politician will come and go. They remain. Their citizens will remain. The last thing they want is for their citizens to turn the back on them or see them as a particular party affiliated leader. I personally think the protest rally must go on. Like the gentleman said, the organizer of this protest is poverty. The organizers of this protest is the criminality in the society. The organizers of this protest is lack of opportunity or growth. The organizer of this protest is a simple people who are tired and fed up. And when people are tired, when people are fed up, it means they are backed into the wall. Nothing they cannot do and nothing they're not willing to risk. He who is on the ground fear no falls. And right now, 80 to 90% of Nigerians are on the ground. I'm in UK. Do you know what's happening? Most of the senators, some governors, some House of Rep, all of them, they are children in abroad. Some of them are already in abroad right now, run away from the country they're supposed to govern. And then telling us, like Kalu was telling us from somewhere, I don't know, saying not to go and rally. This is the problem. These are the things or the people that are organizing this rally. Poverty is the key form of it. I've toured around Nigeria a lot to the point of going as far as the east and the north. I toured around Edo State. I've never seen the level of poverty like this ever. We as fellow Nigerians, and I appeal to all of us, please do not see this protest as a religious protest, a Muslim, a Christian. Do not see this protest as a Hausa or Igbo or Yoruba protest. And it's not, also do not see it as a protest against the Yoruba, against an Igbo, against an Hausa person, or in support of that. See this protest as a protest for you. Shall we carry on in Babylon and expect grace? No. We must move. Okay. This is the only voice we have, and we must use it diligently and carefully. I want to appeal to all protesters. Do not allow yourself to be hijacked into crime. Protest consciously and righteously, and fight for what will liberate every one of us, both those home and away, where you cannot travel from Benin to Uromi without the fear of bad road or kidnap. Where you cannot go to the market with ordinary peasant money that you cannot afford to even eat. I was in a place campaigning the other last year. There's a woman who came to the place to buy food, and she was backing a baby. She has not enough money to just buy food enough for herself and the baby. She's trying to now buy one food without meat. I have to look at that and cry bloody murder in me. It's not even paying for the woman food. It's what happened the next day when somebody like me is not there to pay for it or give her extra cash. There's no way she can turn to. That's a mother with a baby. There's no way.
I'll come back to you in a moment, Chief Akwamboka. I'll get back to you in a moment. Dr. Gavin Soni Daudu, many thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
You have serious reservations about this protests, but as much as government want us to believe that they are really up there trying to deal with the issues affecting Nigeria, the challenge of hunger, what do you make of these accusations against the government of purchasing a new presidential jet, a yacht, then the allegations of using fronts to take over the oil and gas industry, as it were? Let me take it off from there.
Well, thank you very much. But let me quickly address the issue of the proposed planned protest. Then I will react to all these issues so that we can properly situate the issues very well. I'm a child of history. The issues raised by citizens of the country are germane. But the question we must ask ourselves is, protest the answer? Will protest revamp the economic situations of the country?
No, it will send a strong message about the feelings of the people.
I'm going there, sir. Will protest be the answer? The answer is no. But the question now is that, has a message been sent? The answer is yes. To me, the protest has been carried out. The science in the country has shown clearly that the citizens are dissatisfied with the economic policies of government. But what people fail to look at is not policies of the federal government alone. It's policies of the governments of the country, whether at the local level or the state level and at the federal level. It is politics taken too far, where people now attack and say PDP, APC, and all of that. No, it's issue of governance. It has nothing to do with politics. It's issue of governance of the state for the betterment of the citizens to which they are governing, and not issue of which party is in government. Because if you look at that, the question is that, do you have a one party in this country? No. You have PDP in Senate, Labour Party in Senate, APC in Senate. Even the presidency, ministers are from Senate, from PDP, APC, and Labour. So it is not issue of party. It is issue of governance. It is issue of assuring that if there are policies of government, for instance, federal government, that does not mean well for the state states have a policy direction to cushion the impact. So it's not issue of party. It's issue of party. It's issue of governance. It's issue of the people. So protest is not the answer. Let me tell you, sir, when you protest, the danger inherent in it is that it will be hijacked. There's no doubt about it. I'm a child of history. Now, the question now is, will the strike affect the government?
The protest, you mean?
The protest.
Yeah.
Will it affect the government? The answer is no. It will affect the common citizens. Let me tell you now, because I do survey before I come and speak. The market women are packing their goods now from the market to their homes. That they will be the victims. Their markets will be attacked. Those who have kiosks are packing them now with vehicles to their homes with a fear that they will be the victims. What that simply seems to suggest is that we are protesting against ourselves. Who will protest to government house and arrest the governor or president or even local government chairman? No, we protest around the street, destroy our markets, destroy our source of livelihood, further impoverish ourselves and not the government. That is our concern. I am not saying you shouldn't protest, but you must also weigh it. Now, even if you protest, it will also end the dialogue. That's why I'm saying the message has been sent clear, loud, and the governments are aware. Why don't we now give government the time, of course, to assure? If you say this protest has not, the notice alone is not held in government coffers or government corners, that is not correct. So protest will not do different for what these scenarios are painted. So to me, the protest will lead to, it will be hijacked. It will further impoverish the common man. Let me tell you, sir, if you are protesting in Benin, for instance, a pregnant woman who wants to go and give birth can't go in the hospital. The doctors will not even be there because their family will tell them, don't go there. You may be attacked. They will go there. A man who is sick cannot access any health facility. You can't go to market and buy something. I can't even go. You can remember a little hold up on the road. You can sweat there. You can't even access. You are not talking about the whole state or a country being locked down for 10 days as being proposed, or even a day. It will further worsen the economies. Now, social infrastructure, economic infrastructure will be victims. Now, before you talk about revamping the economy, you must also first revamp these social infrastructures that were victims of the proposed protest. Therefore, where would we go from there? Instead of talking about economic revitalization, we are talking about infrastructures that are already damaged. How do you revive them? So to me, the protest, yes, the reasons for this, Jame, timely wrong.
So when is the best time? If you say timely wrong,
let me tell you.
Yes.
Let me tell you. You see, it is good for us to situate issues very well. The economies of the country is fragile, early. It's not at such time you subject it to a war.
But is government government committed to addressing the economy? What is the benchmark for that commitment on the part of government?
Okay.
If government has decided to spend $150 billion on the private jet and all of those issues.
I will come to that. You see, the policies of government are driven by budgetary allocations. And these budgetary allocations are subject to scrutiny by, if it's the government of the Federation, by the National Assembly
made up of House of Assembly, House of Reps, and House of Senate. And all stakeholders, including governors, are party to the formulations of the economic policies of state. State here means the country. Their input also among the states are there. All these that have been budgeted for each offices, whether the federal office or the president's office or there, the governors, the economic council of country are party to it. Budgetary allocations of government are not just something you pick from the ground. All IPUs are made. When those IPUs have been made by the economic council, we state governments are also part of it. It's subject to the scrutiny of the National Assembly, where you see have divergent political parties, different political parties. If a budgetary allocation has been so made for those provisions and reasons advanced, because before you approve a budget, it is defended. If it is defended, and those who are representing the country, representing the states, representing constituencies and senatorial districts have agreed that allocation is certainly for the purpose of which it was budgeted, I think it would be unfair for me, even though I wouldn't know the nitty-gritty because I was not part of the budgetary process, to now say here now that implementing that budget
at the detriment of the people.
No, yeah, sir.
At the detriment
there are
of the
also
people.
policies of state that are for the people. There are economic policies. There are agricultural policies. Now, these agricultural policies are formulated to be driven by states. Federal government, when you look at the organogram of government, sir, the federal government are policy makers. Policy implementations is at the state level.
Okay. Dr. Galvin, let me pause it. I'll come back to you in a moment. Reverend David Ogolo is live with us online, virtually. We are here now. I want to know from you, what will be the ideal solutions to dealing with this issue? Because whether we like it or not, those who are behind these end hunger protest, hashtag end hunger protest, are bent on going ahead, with the protest, whether the government likes it or not. But are there quick wins to perhaps avert the protest? If there are, what are they?
Thank you, Sonny. I a bit differ with the last speaker because obviously one of the first things that the pro-establishment try to do is to first and foremost negatively stereotype what protest is all about. Like I earlier on mentioned, protest is required to strengthen democracy, and protest help to alter the agenda of pro-establishment, and it helps to give opportunity in an electoral democracy for minority to express their different opinion. And in that process, you have a new thinking, you have a new agenda, and you have a new way of doing things. And if we were to continue to remain in the status quo, in a particular agenda, I am not sure some of the innovation we have today in governance or even in development will ever achieve it. Even access to even reading the Bible, it will not even have been possible for many Christians around the world today. So it is only when people protest, and if you look the Pentecostal church, it's also as a result of protest, as a result of people saying, no, we will not continue in this same format. So this protest we are talking about, so that people don't continue to negatively characterize it as something that is unacceptable. It is agreed that, yes, previous protests like NSAS, there were some shortcomings. And our call and our message to our friends and brothers and traditional rulers across the entire country is that, look, come August 1st, we are appealing to friends, those who are supporting the protest, that they should never resort to violence because it will undermine the whole major goal of the protest. Like you rightly noted, the protest is aimed at raising consciousness, awareness for those who are in government, who probably will not understand what the common man on the street is feeling. The hunger we are talking about, it is not something that we created. It's not an imaginary thing. If you go to the market, you will see it. It is visible. You can experience it. The unemployment level, the huge external debt, the economic crisis is not something that was created by this protest. What this protest seems to achieve is to draw the attention of those in government to see that the plight of millions of Nigerians who are currently going on without food, and to avoid a situation where there could be possible crisis in the country. But a legitimate protest is required to send a strong message to those in power. And the only way for government to address it is for government to put in place security. Two, to put in place government response to the issues that the protest will raise. And one of those things that the protest is putting on the agenda is that, look, the crisis in the country in terms of access to food is something government must put in place policy to address it. And how government go about addressing the issue of hunger is first job opportunity. If you have seen the current engagement between the Nigerian labor and the Nigerian government about minimum wage, those are issues that are currently on the table. So I don't want us, particularly those who are pro-establishment, to see the parties who are going for protests as people who do not love the country. We all love this country, and we do know very clearly that protest is required to give an opportunity to those who have alternative opinion, which could also help strengthen the economy. The government cannot lay claim to love this country than those who are protesting. And those who are currently, both the traditional rulers, the religious leaders, who are now pro-establishment, obviously based on their benefit, should not also characterize the protest as something that is dangerous. No. Tinubu was pro-Nadako. Tinubu was pro-democracy. He was there on the trenches. He cannot now suddenly now say that protest is a dangerous thing. And those who are also saying that if the protests go ahead, it will undermine the country, they are not being factual. The facts are not there. What the protests have generated is even debate. And democracy without debate, how do you help such democracy to grow? If you don't allow the minority, for example, to have the opportunity to put a perspective on the table, how do you grow such economy? You can't grow such economy. If you give opportunity for people with different agenda, people with different approach of how things should be done, then you cannot help the opportunity for people to put in policies that could help the country. And that's how democracy grow. The quality of democracy or quality of governance is a function how people have access. And that's why if you look at the indicator of good governance, it's about access to information. It's about representation. It's about the rule of law. So you cannot just sit down in your closet of comfort and say that the people that are currently planning protests, they don't mean well to the country. It is a dangerous way of characterizing this protest. And I say with very clear conscience that this protest is not about violence. This protest is about sending strong message to Tinubu government. This protest is about sending strong message to the opposition party, because even the opposition party are not playing their role. Even the so-called PDP, the so-called APC, the so-called Labour Party, they are not playing their role very well. If they play their role very well, I can tell you there will be no protest. Because obviously there is a missing link in the governance of the country. The opposition parties are not playing their role. They are all the same. And that's the reason why the people of Nigeria are trying to take their destiny in their palm. And you cannot stop them not to do that. Come August 1st. But our appeal to our brothers and sisters across the country, don't go on violence. Otherwise, you will be given opportunity for the pro-establishment to begin to narrate a negative story.
All right.
Our message must be put on the table. Send a strong message to the government. Enough is enough.
All right. Reverend Gola, I'll come back to you in a moment. If you just join us, it's still TMI on the ITV network. We'll take a minute break. We'll be back with you with the rest of the conversations with our panelists, and then we'll have another joining us live here in the studio to take this conversation further. We hear now that the UK government, the US government, the Canadian government are issuing security threats to their nationals against the background of the planned protest beginning from 1st of August. We hear it's going to run for about 10 days. Now, there are also accusations against the state chief executives that if they were doing enough, perhaps the policies of government will impact the people more.
Go to study in any of Ibunedion University's colleges of learning: College of Arts and Social Sciences, the College of Business and Management Studies, College of Engineering, College of Health Sciences, College of Natural and Applied Sciences, College of Law, and College of Pharmacy. At Ibunedion University Okada, students enjoy international exchange programs which take them beyond the shores of Nigeria annually to attend summer classes in partner universities in the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, and Asia. Candidates are to complete and submit application forms online on the website www.iuokada.edu.ng. Our hotlines 0703-292-4219. Canadian University, Nigeria's premier and leading private university.
Independent radio. 89.7 FM. FM, Independent Radio Abuja. Get it locked.
Richard didn't want to die, but he couldn't stop himself. The collision with the car didn't kill him, but he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, so he continued on his journey. When he hit the inside of the car, that didn't kill him either. But his internal organs carried on travelling until they hit his rib cage, and his lungs were punctured, and the main artery from his heart was torn. And that's what killed Richard.
Thanks again for staying with us on the program TMI as we continue with our conversations on hashtag End Bad Governance. Proposed protest bill to commence on the 1st of August. Fares Okwere is still with us online. Fares, I raised fundamental issues a while ago, particularly as it has to do with the fact that if state chief executives were doing enough, perhaps we wouldn't be here now. The challenge is that all attention is on the federal government, less of attention on state governments, state chief executives. Let's get your take on that. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, in terms of the state government, I can tell you for sure, I don't know about other states, but let's take a state like Edo, for example. The reason why the anger is against the federal government today and not the state government is because some of the state governments are doing pretty better than the federal government. Take Edo, for example. Look at, in Edo, for example, workers have been paid minimum wage of 70,000 naira, whereas the federal government is even struggling to raise minimum wage to 70,000 naira that the state government has done since May 1st of this year. So there are some of the things. And secondly, I heard my brother talking about that the state governments are part of the Economic Council and all of that. I disagree with those kind of arguments, because when the federal government is taking decisions, it doesn't consult sometimes the state governments. For example, when the federal government decided to spend 150 billion naira on a new private jet, it didn't consult the state governors. When the federal government decided to remove subsidy, the president just sat down unanimously and announced a removal of subsidy without calling the state governors to find out how this will impact them, how it will impact their various states. So this issue of talking about the state government doing it, was it the state governors that removed subsidy? Was it the state governors that is in charge of security in the country? So the federal government have failed Nigerians. They have not lived up to expectations of Nigerians. They told Nigerians that when they remove subsidy, that the money from subsidy will be reinvested into making sure that the lives of Nigerians are better. Today, look at, Nigerians are miserable. And you can't blame the state government. Look, take, for example, in Edo, there's no federal road in Edo. All the federal roads are in shambles. The road to go to Edo Central right now, the only road you can go you can pass to Edo Central is through the road that were built by the state government. It's only the state government road that you can pass. You can't even pass the federal government road. The Benin Auchi road is zero. The Benin Wari road is zero. The Benin Ondo road is zero. You know, so it tells you that the federal government is not doing enough. The federal government is not interested in solving the problems of Nigerians. It's just trying to push the blame to the state government. The state governors are doing better than the federal government. The state governors are doing well. You know, I'm not saying that they can solve the whole problem, but in terms of what they are doing, you know, the state governors are doing better than the federal government. The federal government, who takes the larger chunk of our resources, you know, the larger chunk of our resources is not doing enough to solve the problems of Nigerians. There's no economic direction from the federal government. There's no economic direction. The Tinubu administration has not shown, you know, the will to address the problems Nigerians are facing.
Okay, the fuel subsidy removal has also brought forth more allocation in terms of revenue to state governments. And there are arguments that the allocations that the states are getting doesn't match. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Hello, sir.
Yes, Fares, can you hear me? A bit of a technical hitch. I hope Fares can get the
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. The point I'm making is that from the fuel subsidy removal, we hear states are getting more allocation like they used to have, and there is no commensurate impact in terms of the allocation and what has been done. I don't know what you make of that, Fares, quickly.
Yes, I lost you for a minute, sir.
Yes, I'm saying that subsidy removal has brought forth more allocations to states, and there is no commensurate impact with the allocation states are getting compared to pre-subsidy removal. So what do you make of this?
Mr. Sonny, I can tell you that, like I said before, I said that the federal government takes a larger chunk of the states, of the resources of the country.
Okay.
You know, the federal government controls a larger chunk of those resources. And let's look at what some of the states are doing. Look at Edo, for example. You know, in terms of minimum wage, the state government is even paying higher than what the federal government is paying as minimum wage. For a government that collects over 54% of our resources, that's something to think about. Secondly, it is not the state governments who removed subsidy. Some of the problems we are facing today was the removal of subsidy without putting the measures to weigh the impact of the removal of those subsidies. The federal government is spending recklessly on things that they shouldn't be spending on. We have 9 presidential jet before. Why spend 150 billion naira to buy a new private jet when you already have 9 in the existing fleet? Look at what the president's son is doing. The president's son is using private jet to gallivant around the whole country, doing nothing. He's not in government. And some of this, the wastages in government, the federal government has not been able to cut down wastages in government. Okay. Too many ministries who are doing nothing. The Tinubu administration has come in with so many hopes, so raise the hopes of Nigerians, but has done absolutely nothing. There's nothing that the government can point to today and say in the last 1 year that they have achieved for Nigerians.
Okay, Fares, before we let you go, what's the implication of all of these for Edo 2024 governorship election? I mean, 21st of September is sacrosanct for Edo electorate.
Yes, we said it before that, the APC as a political party should have no business even contesting any election in Nigeria, because the APC has not shown any will to address the issues Nigerians are facing. So it's the same thing in Edo. The APC should be going around begging Nigerians, apologizing to Nigerians in Edo, and they shouldn't be presenting a candidate in any election, because the APC has nothing to offer Nigerians. They have nothing, absolutely nothing to offer Nigerians, and they have nothing to offer Edo people. You can see that the level of suffering that they've introduced into the country since they came into government at the federal level since 2015. They've brought nothing but poverty and hunger to Nigeria, and they should have no business contesting any election in Edo State. Okay.
All right, Fares, thank you for your time. Let me quickly join Chief Matthew Akwamoka from the UK. We are here now. In terms of the protest, what's it's your take on the quick wins, either to avert it or to assuage the feelings of those who are really, really concerned and they want to take their destinies in their hand, like Reverend David Okoro said a while ago? And then how do you think all of these can shape the 2024 governorship election?
I'll start from the latter question. It's already shaping Nigeria and specifically Edo State. It's already shaping us. Even the thought of the protest is already shaping even the mindset of the political principalities we have, because they get afraid and live in the state or live in the country. I want to just wiggle back to the other gentleman that spoke before Reverend David spoke. And it really, really breaks my heart that there'll be somebody will come into a national television and use these fear tactics and this fear manipulation, emotional manipulation words, because it's really heartbreaking. It's good to defend the government that you believe and trust, which is good. And the definition of fear is false evidence appearing to be real. Because everything is said has zero solution but fear. Fear to make you coward. Fear to make you not to challenge the norm, and fear to make you not to actually progressively think there's a better way to address things. Like Farah said, the state governor are doing better than the federal government. They're taking 50% or more share of the state. However, the state governor, the House of Rep, the local chairman as well, they're all collectively responsible to the poverty we face in Nigeria today. So the protest is not against a particular person or a party. And I agree with Ferris. APC is an abysmal failure. They have no business in terms of being in politics, because their orientation and their goal is only one primary thing, is how to win an election. They've mastered the act of winning an election by every means necessary, but they're yet to deliver a political goal, a policy goal on how to serve the society. It's turned, APC is a party government. That is fine. However, Edo State is different. I'm from Labour Party. I'm a chieftain in Labour Party. But I'm supporting Senator Monday Okwewolo. I beg to digress. I'm sorry, not because he's an APC person, because all politics are local. It's because it's a man of value, integrity, and a man of compassion and empathy. We need political leaders with empathy, not somebody trying to use fear tactics to scare us from expressing our fundamental rights. We need politicians and leaders who cares, who show compassion, emotional balance, not somebody who come and give us the professorial role or tell us the academic role or giving us philosophical BS, a part of my language. We need somebody who just who care for the little child who is in the village or in the city who has no means to survive, who care for that mother who the husband left or died, who care for that father who our family cannot feed, who care for that man who's out of job, the young person who's wandering the street looking for a way to help. People are literally committing suicide out of hunger. People are literally dying on the street. We need a compassionate leader. We don't need even though if the compassionate leader is just a farmer who cannot even speak one word of English, or an illiterate who has never been in the four walls of school, but who cares enough to know that this cannot continue. This poverty, deprivation, and lack of opportunity cannot continue. I don't care the qualification of the person. I care about what they care about. And this is what is fueling this rally. And we can talk strategically, we can talk politically, we can try to defend wrong things if we're not facing the truth. The truth is the political principalities we have governing the state at this moment don't care. We have politicians who don't care, who is trying to buy houses outside Nigeria rather than developing their community. We have politicians who is stealing money from Nigeria, not even reinvesting the money they stole. They're using it and putting it in savings in foreign countries, in foreign countries' money. Why? In a country where their own citizens are treated badly. They're treated badly. We have political principalities right now who are taking loans that will affect generations to come, helping people to steal. We have politicians. Look at, for instance, the oil deal. We've signed all the oil deal. Tinubu did that. It wasn't the Tinubu did that. The oil deal we signed to borrow how much money? It was at 15% rate. All the oil for 15 years. Any crude oil we produce now is going to another country for 15 years.
Okay. All right, Chief, thank you so much for your time. It's always a delight to have you on the program. Thank you so much. Let me come back to Dr. Garvin. Yeah, quickly. Some of the views and perspectives shared, particularly as it relates to the forthcoming election in Edo State. Yeah.
Oh, very well, very well. You see, I'm happy with the views expressed by all the panelists here. But let me quickly tell you that states have economic policy. And in Edo State, for instance, you have the chairman of the economic team. The question is that what has been the blueprint of the chairman of the economic team in respect to Edo State for the past 8 years? That is the issue. And the same man is now who is now be brought by the PDP if they want to make it political. The head of the economic team. What has been his blueprint, economic development of the country, of the state, Edo? Now, the economic policy ought to be driven by what they call a Lagodaro Summit. It has been a jamboree for 8 years. The Lagodaro Summit of the current government of Edo. It's a jamboree. And I tell people, the Alagodaro Summit that have been held for 8 years. Who are the Edo persons there who have either presented the paper in respect to the economic development of Edo? The food they cook in that Alagodaro Summit. Who is Edo woman that has cooked the food? The bags they share there. Who is Edo person who produced those bags, either by way of contract and none of that? It's the same man they are projecting. A man has been the economic team. What is the blueprint? Where was the government before he came in? And what has he done? He goes on campaigning. He has not told people what he has done. He showcases his pedigree. I was there, I was here, I was here. No.
But let me just put you in
line.
Now,
the question is...
Yes, the challenges at the federal level, what impact and how will it shape this election? That's the question.
Now, the problem here is economic. It's economic. It's economic policy. That's why I'm telling you that the state have economic team. If you can fundamentally disagree with government policy, federal government policy, and drive your own policy because you have your own resources.
Okay.
Apart from the federal allocations, state generates revenues to drive the economy. So you don't rely strongly on the economics of federal government if you believe that there are variance with your policy. Again, let me tell you, if we are making it political, APC have their policy trust. PDP have their policy trust. You are not stereotyped to the APC policy trust if you believe that they will not whittle down the hardship of the people in your state. Why do you subservient your state to the apron strings of federal government if you believe you can do things differently? So the people of Edo, we vote based on the political pedigree, the relationship, the patriotism of those persons who have been spearheading the political arena of the state. So the state have peculiarities. If the peculiarities of the state cannot be addressed over 8 years, where you have a man holding the sway of the economic team now be brought, the thing is that what will he do differently? So people talk about the security of country, the security of the country is being paraded by the federal government. The answer is no, it's not true.
But it's on.
Now let me tell you, sir, if you look at the sections of the Constitution, section 1314, vested all government, say all arms of government, to protect the lives and properties of state. That is the reason why it is flowing from that constitutional provisions that states are given what they call security votes. What is the security vote meant for? If you cannot arrange the security architecture of your state. That is the reason why you also have commissioners of state, police.
Answerable to the federal,
no,
not the state.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
They are answerable to the federal, but they drive the policies of the state security architecture.
But there are instances where police commissioners will tell you, I'm waiting from directive from Oga at the top.
No, sir.
Yes.
No, sir.
Instances are bad.
Let me tell you, sir. Because I'm part of the political development of Edo, and I know the security architecture. I was once a member of the security committee of the Nigeria Bar Association, where you have government apparatus there. Now, why admitting that the commissioner of police is sent by the federal government? They drive the policies of state as midwife by the government of the state. If the state governor, as I speak here now, put a call to the commissioner of police, can't tell him he will not go.
Okay.
It's only when he asks him to do something, he will say he want to
get clearance.
Yeah, whether, of course, that is in line.
But the time lag between when
the
instruction is given and trying to get clearance.
No, sir, it's spontaneous because commissioners of police,
yes,
are not persons that we call the IGP, for instance. They don't call federal government, sir. They don't call the president.
They call the IGP.
They call the IGP because they are superior.
Who is an employee of the federal government?
No. Even if it's the employee of federal government, it's not technically the employee of federal government because they have a council.
Okay.
The police council. Who controls the police.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when a police commissioner has a situation beyond him, he takes clearance.
Okay.
From the IGP. And timely, because they have a control room. They have a control communication system, different from the normal control communication system. Once a signal is given, it responded to within seconds.
Okay.
So security link between the commissioner of police and the IGP is second to none. It's not something that takes hours to respond to.
All right.
So to me, the politics of Edo will be shaped by the pedigree. What have you done for your people, for which you now believe that the people should support you?
All right, thank you very much. Let me see if I can get a final word from Reverend David Ogolo, who's been joining us virtually. Reverend Ogolo, if you're still there with us, quickly give me your final word on your expectations on Edo 2024 in terms of the perceptions of the electorate, more with the fact that parties are really deep in their campaigns now.
In the first place, first I want to say that there is a huge opportunity for Edo people to decide who becomes the governor after the September election. And the people of Edo State should use the opportunity to decide who becomes the governor. And the issues that will really help the people to decide who becomes the governor are issues that borders on the issue of hunger, particularly the issue of protest. You'll agree with me, the issue of access. That's what we call the 10 big issues that we are campaigning, trying to raise awareness around. The issue of access to land, the rural people. As a young boy growing up in Igobazua, I know that farmland is very precious to the community people in Igobazua. But today, access to those lands is pretty difficult, obviously, because of some challenges. So when the Igobazua farmers are voting, they should not allow issue of political issues be the basis. It should be the basis whether if by tomorrow the governor comes up, will they still have access to those land? Then the issue of security. Farmers hardly able to go to farms because of kidnapping, herdsmen crisis, insecurity. So if they are voting, those farmers should be able to allow that to influence their decision to vote, which of the governor is speaking to those issues. And then the issue of unemployment, job creation, enabling environment, and then the small medium enterprise in Edo State. They should also vote on the basis of the fact that if you see the way the government is also releasing different taxes to tax small medium enterprises, it's a big issue. So why would they vote PDP, or why would they vote APC, or why would they vote Labour Party? It should be on the basis of what the governors are saying on how they will address the issue of tax. And then when you talk the issue of earth, access to earth, if you look around Edo State today, how many people have access to earth facility, particularly those who are physically challenged? Do they have access to earth facility? And that should be their basis of voting, who they want to cast their vote for. They should not allow agents of this political party to misinform them. They should allow facts speaks to the issue why they are casting their vote. And I also want to summarize it that it's not true that the problem of this country today is just the federal government. All the state governments are also complicit on the problem in the country today. It is not what the federal government alone can solve. The resources of this country is shared among the three tiers of the government, the federal, the state, and the local government. What has happened is that there's a failure of governance across the country. And what the people should do when an election provides opportunity to vote in their candidate, they should not allow those candidates to misinform them. And unfortunately, the media has got a role to also play to help amplify, to cast their vote. Don't allow some leaders who are somewhere to tell you who to vote for. Vote on the basis of issues that I have made an example of. Because you cannot, if you cast your vote and you allow these people who are merchants to become governor or become your representative, there's nothing you can do. And you would have lost the opportunity until the next 4 years. So come September 21st, Edo people, decide to vote for governor that is competent. Don't vote for people who are incompetent. You must vote for somebody who have history. You must vote for somebody who have knowledge. You must vote for somebody who have the characteristics of good governance. And those political parties that are also promoting violence, don't vote them. Because why should you promote violence? Violence is not the means to be able to achieve power in Edo State. And we also want to put it as consciousness that we, the civil society, are monitoring the electoral map. We're looking at the whole situation. Those politicians who are promoting violence, we will not fail to report them to the international community. Wherever their children is, wherever they travel to, they will be under ban because there's a U.S. policy that also exclude violent politicians from having access to the U.S. and having access to the European Union. So politicians who think violence is only the tool that they have to win an election, they should be aware that we are monitoring them. Thank you, Mr. Sonny.
Reverend David Ogolo, thank you very much. It's always a delight to have you on this platform. We truly appreciate the values that you brought on the show this morning. Thank you very much.